Well, hello everybody, and thank you for the very warm welcome. That makes the guy feel pretty good. It actually feels quite a bit better than the message I got from the hotel today about having to hire security because I was here, so I definitely prefer the clap. No, I don't prefer the clap. I prefer the cheering. Okay. So I'll peel my foot out of my mouth and get right into it here. Like usual, you're going to notice I don't have cue cards, I don't have anything prepared. I never really know what I'm going to speak about until I get up here. So I guess the first thing I'm going to say is I'll introduce myself. My name is Chris Scott. I own the Whistle Stop Cafe in a little town called Mirror, Alberta. Thank you. Just a cook, man. So there's 500 people in my town. Little cafes like mine, we exist because people come in and have coffee. We exist because people want to come in and socialize and have some fries or whatever. We don't thrive because we have a big customer base. We thrive because we have consistent customers. So you can imagine what happened when the Alberta government said that I had to close my in-dining services. At first, the reason I opened my restaurant was because it was a matter of survival. I looked around, I saw all the staff I was going to have to lay off. My family worked at the restaurant, my kids did at that point. And it was either, actually, not right away, pardon me. It was the December lockdowns where I started feeling this. It was either I open or I'm closed forever. And I knew that there was other restaurants in my position, other businesses, other gyms, salons, whatever. This was happening all over Alberta. And by this time, most of us were starting to wake up and realize there was something wrong. There was something wrong with these restrictions. As we looked around, we weren't seeing people dying in the streets. We weren't seeing hospitals being overrun, even though that was the message of the day. None of that came to fruition. And so me, along with a few other people, we realized this is garbage, and we're not going to stand for it. So we opened our doors. The support we got for doing so was absolutely insane. I had no idea that our restaurant could serve 3,000 people in a day. We ran out of food constantly. We had grocery runs 3 times a day because people from all over Alberta and Canada, like you folks, were coming down to support us and cheer us on and say, yeah, don't back down because we know that what they're doing to your business is garbage and we're going to support your decision to open against restrictions. Now, I can't say it was all roses. There was visits from authorities and policemen and women, and that was a little bit stressful. There was also some negative pushback from some people that didn't like what we're doing, but that happens. You can't please everybody. So we stayed open. I said I wouldn't close. I said I would go to jail for what I believed in. I did that. I got out of jail, and jail wasn't that bad, by the way. I'm making me nervous. Okay, so I got out of jail, and the next hurdle we had to overcome was the authorities, and I use that term loosely, had basically bullied the person that I was purchasing that property from into either evicting me or forcing me to close. I got a notice for 5 days. 5 days, get out. That was it. And I didn't know what to do. The only reason I found the path to take was because of you folks. Every day you guys have been coming up to us and saying, do not stop what you're doing. Don't back down. We believe in you. Whatever you have to do, we're here for you. We're going to stand behind you, beside you, whatever we have to do. I had people offer to form a human chain around me so that I wouldn't get arrested. So the lengths that people were going to help us succeed was unfathomable. So, people from all over Canada, all over Alberta, everywhere, from the UK, from Australia, They actually helped me buy my restaurant. And in doing so, they basically took AHS and they castrated them. No more bullying a landlord into forcing a good tenant out. No more harassing somebody with lies and a bunch of BS that wouldn't have stood up in court. It was me. I had the title in my hand. So then they chained me shut. They actually put a chain on the door of my restaurant and refused me access to the property. They did a crappy job locking up. If they were my employees, I would have fired them. We got robbed because they didn't lock the doors properly. It was just a complete gong show. But in the end, the restrictions were lifted and we got our place back. All's good, right? Wrong. One of the things I realized early on in this, as I looked into how can this happen to me and Natalie Klein and Ty Northcott and all of these business people across Alberta and in Canada who have guaranteed rights and freedoms. How can this happen? We let it happen. We let our elected representatives enact laws that said they could do this to us. We were asleep at the wheel, and it's 100% our fault. I would have had no idea if this hadn't happened. Now, the problem is, they can do it because of COVID. They can do it because of a bad flu. They can do this if they say that climate change is causing more forest fires this year than normal. They can do this for almost any reason with the stroke of a pen. These laws still exist. COVID is not over. It hasn't been beaten in court. We're going to court to challenge the Public Health Act on a constitutional basis, but it hasn't happened yet. And that's why I'm here today. I don't have time to be here. I don't have time to go to any other town and speak about the mechanisms and the reasons why this is happening to Albertans and to Canadians. I pretty much abandoned my restaurant to do this because I realized that if I don't stand up, if you all don't stand up, and we don't do something, we're done. Canada has failed. I don't want to be a politician, but I'm going to try. What I wanted to do is I wanted to be a pilot. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And I can't because my eyes are about as good as a badger. But today on the bus ride up, I was thinking about Canada and what's happening. And are there any pilots in the room? Yeah, of course. Look how fast their hands go up. Every pilot wants you to know they're a pilot. So there's something in airplane terms called a flat spin. So a flat spin is when you basically lose the ability to control your aircraft. When you're flying an airplane, you have to move forward. If you don't move forward, you have no physics doesn't allow the control surfaces of your aircraft to keep you going where you want to go. You can't do anything. You end up in a flat spin, and you're flat, and you're spinning, and you're going down, and there's nothing you can do. In Canada, right now, we're in a flat spin. We stopped moving forward. We tried to do some funky stuff and do some weird ideological maneuvering politically, and we are in a flat spin. We're going to crash. The only way we're going to get out of this is if every single person in this room and your friends and your neighbors, we hit the power and we get out of that flat spin. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's not easy, but there are procedures, just like in aeronautics, there's procedures to get out of a flat spin. You have to follow the procedures. And right now, one of the things we have to do is we have to hold our elected representatives to account. We have to email them. We have to write them. If they don't listen to us, we have to replace them. And it could be a burger flipper from a town of 500 people in the middle of nowhere. As long as your representative is willing to enact laws on your behalf, you'll be okay. But they're not. They're not doing that right now. And it's evident with what's going on with all of our businesses and the lockdowns and all that jazz. So regarding our freedoms, I might piss some people in this room off a little bit by saying this. One of the biggest lies that we've been told in Canada is that our forefathers fought and died for our freedom so we don't have to. That is a lie. We have to fight for our freedoms every day, every election time, every AGM, every time we have an opportunity to use our voice. We have to fight for our freedoms to keep them, or we'll lose them, just like we are. Which brings me to one of the big issues why I'm here today. I've been getting emails, messages, phone calls nonstop from people who are about to be forced into getting a vaccination they don't want in order to keep their job. I just watched, what did Dr. Hodgkinson call Fancy Socks Boy? Mr. Fancy Socks. I just watched Mr. Fancy Socks say something to this effect. No, we're not going to force vaccinations on you, but if you think that you can not get a vaccine and go and sit on a train beside someone who's vaccinated and infect them, think again. Pardon me? Who is this guy? Who are these people? Who are these oil companies, Maple Leaf Gardens? All of these places, these employers are telling their employees, you have to do this to your body or we're going to fire you. Are we going to let that happen? No. Are you angry about it? Yes. I'm really angry about it. But furthermore, I'm starting to feel some compassion. Not for those employers. I was angry at the start, but now what I'm feeling is it's sadness and a desire to do something. I feel we need to have a compassionate response to this on behalf of these people that this is happening to. Yeah. Some of them are in my family. And nobody seems to be standing up for it. I was going to wait to make this announcement until we actually had things solidified and we're ready to go full steam ahead. People keep asking me, what can you do? What's the point? Why are you going to speak? Why are you going to try and do this? Well, I don't have any other option. I'm not going to be violent or try and overthrow something. I'm going to use the policies and the procedures that are in place right now, and I'm going to try and as best I can to get us out of this flat spin. One of the ways we're going to do that is the Whistle Stop Cafe. We're going to form a nonprofit organization. And the whole purpose of this nonprofit is to raise funds and retain legal counsel for all of these people who are about to be forced out of their jobs because they don't want to get a vaccination that they don't need. Now here's the tough part. We've only got a few weeks. October 31st, coincidentally, is the date when a lot of these employers have chosen that their employees have to be vaccinated or they're fired. What are we going to do?
Sue them.
Who said strike? I love you. Could you imagine if we could get the word out to enough people who said no, and now I'm talking people who are vaccinated or non-vaccinated, who the hell cares? I don't care. If you've received your vaccinations and you're looking around and you don't agree with what's going on to these people, you should be helping too. Could you imagine if all of these people on one day told their employers, you know what? No, we're not doing this. We're not going to go to work until you back down on this BS mandate for vaccines. I don't know if we can do it. Maybe there's some people in this room who could help with something like that, because that's a pretty big and daunting task, I would think, getting people to unify for anything. So, Believe it or not, I did this speech about 6 times in the bus on the way up here, and it didn't go anything like this. So on the topic of unity, right now, all you have to do is look at a Facebook page or a news article or listen to the radio, and you understand that the divide we have between people is huge. It's like the Grand Canyon. It seems almost impossible to unify for any common goal because of the vast distances between us. Sometimes it's even hard to speak to people who are that far apart from you because, number one, it probably makes you angry. Number two, you probably don't understand, and the conversation rarely goes anywhere. So, we likely won't be able to unify with those people, but you know what we can do? We can cooperate. We can cooperate with those people for a common goal. And that is to make sure that no matter what happens going forward, we have our rights and we have our freedoms. They're guaranteed, and no Public Health Act or Motor Vehicle Act or whatever act can tell an unelected official that they can take away your rights. It's going to take me probably 10 years in court, through the Court of Appeals, into the Supreme Court, hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight the Public Health Act. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Our government is supposed to, according to the Constitution, they're supposed to prove to us that what they're doing is necessary before they do it. And that's not the way it is right now. And I would encourage everyone here to ask your representatives, ask your MP, ask your MLA, why is it like that? Why are we living in a system where the government can fight us with infinite resources and we have to try and fight them in court and pay millions of dollars? I couldn't do it unless Rebel News was helping me. And everybody that's donated, I couldn't do it. Probably not many people in this room could pony up a few $100,000 to fight the government. And that's why they always win. But it doesn't have to be that way. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and it flew through my brain about 5 minutes ago, and now I've lost it.
Gerbils, eh?
Yes, Ty, the gerbils. It's definitely the gerbils. Well, I think that's it. Maybe, if I remember, maybe I'll interrupt somebody else a little bit later. So anyway, that's my message. Don't stay silent. Don't be scared of going to jail. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to people who are your enemies. This is extremely important. The information that we need to get out for this movement to work, it's got to go far and wide. And like I know Bob and his team, they're going to do the best they can over the next little while to try and get out and reach as many people as possible. But if every person in this room talks to 2 people, and they talk to 2 people, by the time Christmas rolls around, every person in Alberta is going to know. They're going to know what we want to do and why we want to do it. And I can almost guarantee that if we can present it properly, they're going to be all for it. Because Ambrose is right. Alberta and the West, we're not represented properly. I don't have anything against Toronto or Quebec or the Maritimes. I really don't. But what I do have a problem with is year after year after year watching a blue wave wash over the Western provinces and end up with a Liberal government with a fancy sock-toting drama teacher telling us that we can't sit on the bus next to our neighbors because we don't get a vaccine or haven't had a vaccine that we don't want. Part-time drama teacher. So, am I done for time, Bob?
You have 5 more minutes if you want it, but if you want to allow other speakers, given the delays we've had, it'd be great too.
No, I'll take the time.
Hey,
It's also very, very hot up here.
in describing Trudeau, you forgot pothead.
For me?
In describing Trudeau, you forgot pothead.
You know what? What's a little pot? Who cares? No.
Try to talk to those people that don't believe politics affects their life and they don't want anything to do with it, because we need their help.
I used to think that. I used to think politics didn't
That's right.
affect my life. Why bother? Why get involved? And then one day, all of a sudden, politics was all I knew. Politics was it was my success or my failure. It was all determined by politics. It was determined by a handful of people that didn't actually have the right information, making emotional responses to things that required logical solutions. And I will concede that in the beginning, when we heard all this news about this killer virus coming out of Wuhan, China, it was so scary. There was videos coming out of China of people actually dropping dead in the streets. Oh my goodness. Yes, of course I'll shut down because I don't want to die. But we quickly realized that that wasn't the case. That stuff was debunked. But for some reason, our politicians kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Where was the logic in this? We all know at this point that it's possible to treat COVID with other options besides vaccine and mandates that destroy lives and businesses. We know that. Yet the College of Physicians won't allow doctors in Alberta to prescribe those treatments. They won't allow pharmacists to dispense it. That's how bad it is. And this is at the hands of our government. So you can ask yourself why all day long and go down all these conspiracy rabbit holes of why the government would be doing this to us. And frankly, I don't care why. The only why that I'm asking is why are we allowing it? So, get political. I think that's a song. Anyway, yeah, it is pretty warm up here, so I'll turn the mic over to the next speaker. But I just want to say before I reluctantly give up this microphone, and I wasn't actually going to touch on this tonight, but I'm sure there might be a few people in this room that are wondering about this. When we fundraised to buy our restaurant, I really want to get through to everybody here that I did not want to do that. That wasn't something I wanted to do. And the reason I didn't want to do it is because anytime you bring money into any kind of a movement, it makes 30, 40, 50% of the people lose focus on what's important, and all they focus on is money. Whether it's because they're jealous somebody else is getting something that they're not, or because they can't imagine that somebody would do anything selfless because they wouldn't do it themselves. I don't know. But I didn't want to do that, and I fought it. I fought it until I got that 5-day eviction. So, first off, thank you guys for helping us buy our restaurant. That's like, I've never even heard of that. And thank you for continuing to believe in what we're trying to do with this movement. That's what it was, movement. Movement. A freedom movement. What is a freedom movement? Does anybody know?
No.
I don't either. As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as a freedom movement. A movement, it says that you're doing something. The freedom movements that we've seen over the last little while are not getting any results. And the only way we're going to get results is if the people in this room stand up and get the results. Do what I said before. Bug your elected officials. Get involved in politics. Get involved in your school boards. Everywhere you can, get involved and make your voices heard. That's what a movement is. It implies that you're actually going somewhere. So let's go somewhere. Let's cooperate and go back to an Alberta, maybe a Canada. I doubt it, but maybe. Let's go back to an Alberta where we can succeed or fail on our own terms, and we can live our lives without this ridiculous government interference.
Yeah.